tortured bodies were submerged inside these heavy-duty garbage bags.
Dexter's bowling for his team, bowl till you bleed. A subtle reference to blood, which appears when you murder a person, and Dexter is a person who murders a lot. There's tons of subtle things like this in the show, and I look forward to sharing them with you, just in case you forget who Dexter really is, beneath his regular person disguise.
Just like me. Empty inside. Dexter Morgan. Good suburban husband. On paper, anyway.
He's feeling the itch to take another life. Dokes has been following him every day for about a month now, so he's not been able to get his fix.
With Dokes tailing me, my life's been all Jekyll and no Hyde. No moonlit play dates, no late night social calls.
When Dokes finally gets bored and goes home, Dexter visits the next guy on his list, Jimmy Sensio, a voodoo magic man who knows that magic doesn't exist, so he puts ricin in the cigarettes of the people he's supposedly cursing. As he can't keep getting away with this, Dexter is ready to break him bad. But for the first time in his life, he can't go through with it.
But what was that back there? Not voodoo. When I picked up the knife, it's like I didn't know who I was.
What's going on, big guy? You okay? Deborah gets back to work and doesn't want the fuss that everyone's making. She might appear to be over what happened to her, but her sleep schedule is completely effed, and she's still living with Dexter, understandably afraid to be living alone. The press has made it public knowledge that she's ITK's ex-girlfriend, so they're giving her grief too.
Isn't that the ice truck killer's babe? She was in the paper, she's f***ing hot.
Later, she's out for a drink, and some guy puts his hand on her shoulder, causing her to melt down.
Are you that girl?
What are you doing? Deborah, what happened? He grabbed me, you saw it, right?
I mean, in her defense, you shouldn't really be going around touching strangers. That's kinda weird, bro.
You saw it? He grabbed me.
A man mountain named Chino is brought into questioning as the lead suspect on Dexter's current case. He even makes Dokes look small, quite a sight to behold.
Heard we captured Bigfoot.
Behold, the eighth wonder of the world.
He tries his usual kidnap and kill play on Chino, but a man like this won't be held down by a little bit of plastic wrap. I'm surprised he ran away. This man could have easily crushed Dexter's skull like a crispy M&M. The best kind of M&Ms. Let the record show. Out at sea, some treasure hunters unearth the mass grave of Dexter's victims. Is it just me, or do some of these bones look a little cartoony? That skull seems like it's drawn onto the body bag. The Guaita's replacement Esme is having some troubles with the boyfriend. The Guaita's conflicted because in one way, haha, serves you right bitch, you took my job. But on the other hand, she's a fellow woman in distress. Rita confesses to Paul that she did find his shoe, but she's not willing to tell the courts that, as he deserves to be in prison. Later, she gets a call from the prison saying that Paul went mad and ended up getting killed in a fight. News which is so meaningless to Dexter that he goes low quality for a few seconds. News that has more meaning to Dexter is that his victims are all being pulled up to the surface, and the media has a new serial killer name, Dennis Reynolds. I mean the Bay Harbor Butcher.
If the eyes are the windows to the soul, then grief is the door.
Dexter's trying to figure out what went wrong. He couldn't kill the blind voodoo man, and he made a complete mess trying to take out Chino. And now, his lack of forethought to not sink all his bodies in the same spot has potentially bit him on the arse. Rita's arranging Paul's funeral, which Dexter finds confusing, considering the hell he put Rita through.
Yeah, the county will bury Paul for free. I mean, he wasn't even your husband.
Dexter, I didn't ask for your help or your advice.
Dexter's lack of compassion and empathy once again playing against him. Wait, this guy might actually be Dennis Reynolds.
My mom has lung cancer.
Oh, God. You know, jeez. That's...
Dexter makes another attempt on Chino, but he was anticipating this.
I've been waiting for you.
He gets Chino on the next try though, using double the tape and wrap this time, to really make sure that he's not getting away. Chino robbed a young girl of her family, something that Dexter can relate to, and this gives him the strength to do what must be done.
Look at that, steady as a surgeon.
At the gym, Deborah gets the horse for some rando who helps her with an injury. The second he gets out the medical tape though, her PTSD kicks in.
I'm sorry.
Deborah's finally starting to crack, which I know sounds like a criticism, but it's good that she's not bottling it up. Only trouble is, she's taking it out on the wrong people. Like this kid here, who makes a run for it after spray painting her car.
You think you can spray paint your gang crap on a police car and get away with it? You piece of shit! No, please.
Morgan!
Rita begs Dexter to come support her and the kids by being there at Paul's funeral, and even though he doesn't like churches, he comes along. I thought this scene was going to be super emotional, creating an uncomfortable situation for Dexter, but they just kind of seem bummed out. Oh dear, Daddy's dead. It's not like we ever showed love towards him. Never mind. This funeral isn't a total bore though, as Dexter can see the ghost of ITK.
I need to let you go.
You think it's as simple as that?
Nothing's simple.
Rita confronts Dexter about Paul's missing shoe, forcing Dexter to finally own up to it, defending his actions by saying that he got rid of Paul to protect her and the kids. Rita then questions how Dexter knew the exact amount of drugs to give to a man of Paul's size, suspecting that he knows this because he's an addict himself. He seizes this opportunity to admit that he does have an addiction, but obviously he lies about what he's addicted to. Rita urges him to go into a recovery program, which might actually be helpful for him. But then again, this show goes on till season 8, so I don't think he'll be giving up killing anytime soon.
The booze, the drugs, makes the job go down easier.
Dexter's having a hard time relating to the other addicts in his first session.
No self-control, lost everything, trying to stop. Same whiny story over and over for 10 minutes. Feels like 10 hours.
He soon catches the attention of this woman here. Her name's Lila. And you know damn well, just from her looks, that she's not going to be just some random extra. She's going to be a major character in the show. I do have to warn you, and this is just my opinion, but she's super annoying. While I do appreciate that she's important to Dexter's story, just every little thing she does irritates me. I know it sounds harsh of me. He makes up a very cookie cutter story about his day-to-day life as a smackhead.
Heroin. Shoot it. My boss found my works. He fired my ass. The doctor said I almost died.
Bro, you look healthy as shit. No way they're buying this BS story. Lila, to her credit, is smart enough to see through this, inviting him out for a coffee so she can try to learn about the real Dexter, and also offered to be his sponsor. It's so obvious from her body language and her language in general that she's not looking for a casual friendship.
I couldn't possibly feel that need. The growing need rising like a wave, prickling and teasing and prodding.
Fearing that things will get really complicated, Dexter says no more program, but Rita says yes more program. Get out of my house until you agree. Dexter's victim in this episode is a used car salesman who was so desperate to sell his cars, he murdered the women who shopped elsewhere. I think that's how it goes. The details aren't that important. He's just the target of the day. Dexter pretends to be interested in this family car so he can gather some DNA from his hairbrush when he's not looking. He's not here solely for recon though, as getting a new car means that he can evade Dokes for a while. Lundy is challenging Deborah to be more involved in the Bay Harbor butcher case. She has her reservations, fearing that her PTSD will flare up by dealing with another serial killer so soon. But Lundy wants her to prove to herself that she can become stronger through this experience, and maybe prevent it from happening to anyone else. Deborah impresses Lundy by revealing that many of the victims have criminal records here in Miami, and the pride in her smile when Lundy congratulates her shows that Lundy was right to put her through this test.
We'll run all the victims' DNA against the criminal database. DC lab is still open. Come on, let's get to work.
Lundy is a very smart man, and right now he's Dexter's biggest threat of being discovered. This scene of him sitting here with all these bodies, long after everyone else has gone home, is significant because it shows his relentless work ethic in finding the truth.
You hoping they'll talk to you?
The ones with heads, anyway. They always speak. Eventually. Just gotta ask the right question.
Dexter takes out the car salesman, and it's just occurred to me how much of a budget he has for this obscene amount of plastic sheets. With Dokes constantly following him, you'd think you would have seen him popping into a Home Depot at least once or twice by now. Upon seeing Dexter attending these meetings, Dokes decides to let up on him, believing now that his strange behaviour makes sense.
The booze, the drugs, makes the job go down easier. Stay clean and stay out of my way. We won't have a problem.
This shows that Dokes isn't a stereotype, evil antagonist. He's a good man deep down. When Rita sees that Dexter's sponsor is an attractive British woman, she knows trouble lies ahead.
She was Mozambique.
What?
Triple tapped.
Lundy and the team decide to spread the news that the Bay Harbour Butcher is a vigilante, in the hopes of reassuring the public that innocent people are safe from his spree.
We've got a city in chaos here, Frank.
I understand you're wanting to reassure the people.
Good. Then we're in agreement.
This episode marks the start of Dexter frequently believing that his time is up. First with Masuka, coming through with some groundbreaking evidence. But Dexter can rest easy for now, as he's just discovered the type of algae that was growing on the rocks that Dexter used to sink the body bags. This type of algae only grows in the same marina where Dexter moors his boat. Dexter meets up with Lila and sees her working on her sculptures, because of course she'd be this kind of weird artist. The kind of artist who never wears a bra. You know for sure she believes in star signs. And to make matters worse, she's making it very clear that she's romantically interested in Dexter, despite knowing he's spoken for.
Is that alright? Do you want to come?
Oh, God.
Oh yeah, she also steals people's property to make her art. She's just the worst. To her credit, she is actually helping Dexter in understanding his addiction and where it possibly stemmed from, so she is being a responsible sponsor.
Dexter? Meet Dexter. I'm going to help the two of you get to know each other.
On a crime scene, Dokes recognises a style of execution happened here from his time in Special Ops.
She was Mozambique.
What?
Mozambique, yeah.
When he tracks down the guy who did it, he admits to killing his wife, but says there ain't no way he's going back to prison. He'd sooner take himself out. Both he and Dokes share a common trauma from what they went through, with Dokes saying that he did the right thing by divorcing his wife before she got hurt. This guy, however, took the wrong path, and now it's too late to turn back.
Like I said, I'm not going to prison.
Put the f***ing gun down, Curtis.
Rita's mum's here to visit, and she's very wary of Dexter, grilling him on his life and intentions for her daughter. He kind of respects her though, because she's very supportive of the Butcher, taking out bad guys. Dexter spots an opportunity to destroy the AC unit, keeping the bodies from decomposing, knowing that he can blame it on some careless trashmen. When they enter the tent, it's gross as hell, and Masuka rejoices in the smell making a guy throw up. He doesn't see this quote-unquote accident as a thing to be concerned about, as they're keeping the algae samples elsewhere.
Manny took him to his lab. Should have results in a week or so. That should help us narrow down what marina they came from.
Imagine that. A life with no more secrets.
Dexter overhears people in a coffee shop praising the Bay Harbour Butcher for taking out the trash of society. And while working a case at a comic book shop, he notices a new comic has been released called The Dark Defender, inspired by the vigilante acts of the Butcher.
The Dark Defender. Nah, Miami's too hot for all that leather.
When he dozes off at the next meeting, he dreams of himself saving his younger self and his mother.
It's okay, Mom. You're safe.
What a freak. You're a freak, Dexter Morgan.
You fucking freak! You're a freak!
He decides to reveal what happened to his mother, to Lila of all people. This is the kind of thing you should be sharing with Rita, right? Lila says that he needs to find these men and confront them in order to get closure. Using his police contacts, he gets a file on their current location.
I guess after 34 years, he figures all the people who want him dead are long gone.
He figured wrong.
Yep, thanks Dexter, we got it. Instead of waiting for Dexter to come back with news, Lila visits him at the station, with Batista just letting her in because he finds her attractive. Would any real police station allow this? Wouldn't it jeopardise Dexter's work? Yeah, Dexter's work isn't important, you can just wander through the middle of it. They go on a road trip to find the guys, and oh my god, get your friggin' feet off the interior. I'm adding this to my list of reasons to why I find her annoying. Don't put your gross feet on someone else's car. That goes for you too, Quentin Tarantino. Delete this scene immediately. Of course, he hasn't told Rita about this road trip. She'd rightfully lose her mind, especially if she knew that he was watching her shower. Not that she's trying to be discreet. He calls Lila, saying that he sees one of the guys working at this bar, and he's unsure if he's going to kill him or not. While this conversation's taking place, Lila's painting over someone else's artwork, because it's not edgy enough for her liking. Wow, Lila, you're such a creative, underappreciated, new age talent. Dexter overstays his welcome in the bar, and tries the different approach of talking to the guy, rather than taking him out. But the guy isn't willing to play ball, and so he reverts back to violence.
1970!
The guy tells him that his mother was caught cheating with Harry, and she was also acting as a police informant. Lila calls just before Dexter finishes the job, encouraging him to stop before it's too late, and come back to the hotel. He doesn't have to give in to his urges.
I will get you through this, I swear. Just come back to me, okay?
He spends the night seeking comfort with Lila. Nothing sexual happens, but still it's an intimate moment. So for as much as I hate Lila, she is helping Dexter in this moment of vulnerability. Lundy's continuing to help Deborah in her recovery by showing her the importance of taking a break, separating herself from her work for just 1 hour a day.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Are you criticizing me for wanting to do my job?
Yes. It's 1 o'clock. I'm going to order 24-hour surveillance on this marina and the 2 others, as soon as I finish my lunch.
Their investigation into the harbour, where the mossy rocks came from, has forced Dexter to scrub his entire boat to remove any DNA. But what he doesn't realise is there's CCTV covering the whole dock.
I've been waiting for a chance to take your ass out.
Dokes asks Deborah how Dexter's doing in recovery, and she finds the suggestion that Dexter's an addict to be laughable.
Are you high? He's never even smoked a cigarette. I'm glad he got some new material, though, because Freak and Psycho were getting kind of tired.
A call comes in from a guy claiming to have escaped the chopping board of the butcher, which Dexter finds intriguing, as no one has ever got away from him. So let's go see what this guy's yapping about. This bargain bin Johnny Knoxville looking fella. The place where he supposedly got attacked doesn't fit the profile of the cleanly environment the butcher works with. Dexter sees this, but so does Lundy, and he knows more about the butcher than Dexter gave him credit for.
My guess is we're looking for a vigilante inspired by the butcher's principles. Bet he never thought he'd be a role model.
I bet you're right.
By the way, quick side note, I just learned that Lundy's actor is the brother of David Carradine, who among many other roles, notably played Bill from Kill Bill.
I'm a killer. I'm a murdering bastard, you know that? And there are consequences to breaking the heart of a murdering bastard.
Rita's mum is still on the scene, and she insists that Lila comes over for dinner, so they can ascertain her level of threat to Dexter and Rita's relationship. The dinner goes well, but later that evening when Lila's gone home, she leaves a voice message on Dexter's phone that goes way into detail about their road trip.
Mind you, it could have been worse. Could have spilled the beans about our road trip. That would have been a bloody
Don't you
ball.
dare. You and Lila stayed in a hotel together.
We had adjoining rooms.
Adjoining rooms.
Of course, this was very intentional on Lila's part, and you'll be finding out soon just how crazy she is. Deborah reminds Dexter that he needs to do better. Letting Rita go from his life would be a huge mistake.
Stop being a douchebag and go fight for her. She's fucking perfect.
Well said, Deborah. Although it's worth pointing out that you can say a whole sentence without using the F word or the R word slur.
Oh, sweet Mary, mother. That's good.
I think you might have broken a commandment somewhere in there.
Dexter catches Dokes going through his stuff, and the two almost end up in a scrap. But Dexter decides to file a complaint instead.
He crossed the line, Lieutenant. He broke into my lab. He went through my personal things. He threatened me.
LaGuerta tells Dexter to hold off until she has a chat with Dokes. He visits Lila to yell at her about leaving such a reckless voice message, and in the passion of their argument, they start boinking. Well, who could have seen this coming? Poor Rita. The crew gets called in to review the CCTV footage, and it won't be long until everybody sees Dexter suspiciously deep cleaning his boat. Dexter pulls the fire alarm and sneakily deletes the footage while everyone's evacuating the building.
Like it never happened. If only the rest of life were so easy to figure out.
Dexter eliminates his copycat. It's a whatever part of the story. He leaves his body parts as gifts for the PD. Not sure why he would do this. It's a really unnecessary risk, leaving even more evidence that could lead back to him. Deborah and Lundy share an awkward hug where it's clear that they're developing feelings for each other. Just don't Google their age difference. Dexter ends up confessing that even though he didn't sleep with Lila on the road trip, he did boink her on his lunch break today.
Leave.
Rita?
No, please. Leave. Now.
When I'm alone and it's quiet, I get scared. Like I start hearing what's really going on inside.
Okay, this is no longer a frustration boning. He's had his fill at the buffet, and now he's just going for a second plate.
You must have some dark fantasies.
Bro, no! She's cursed. Get away from that evil serpent. That temptress from the abyss. I command thee, be gone.
Oh, pardon my tears.
To throw the investigators off the scent, Dexter sends a manifesto from the butcher, including some red herrings in the form of references from famous books.
You can't depend on your eyes when your imagination is out of focus.
That shit's straight from Deep Space Nine.
What? Mark Twain said that.
Camilla tells Dexter that Dokes has been scaring her with interrogations about the hidden case files, about what happened to Dexter in the shipping yard. Dexter doesn't care for many people, but he has a soft spot for Camilla.
He scared me, Dexter.
It's not right, he shouldn't do that.
The Guerta gives Dokes a personal warning to back off Dexter before he files a formal complaint. He knows that Dokes is on thin ice, so he decides to provoke him further by lying about his assessment of this crime scene, and later sneaking the correct report on his desk, right after he brings in the wrong guy for questioning. Dokes, feeling like a fool, squares up to Dexter. To get the upper hand, Dexter nuts him and makes a run for it. So when Dokes retaliates, it looks like an unprovoked attack.
I want your gun, your badge, and your police ID. Type a statement that Sergeant Dokes is on administrative leave pending an internal affairs investigation.
Deborah's crush on Lundy has been growing ever since he showed her how he works best when things are calm. Listening to calming classical music to keep his head straight. The polar opposite of how Deborah copes in life.
The truth speaks to me from a peaceful place. Gotta set the stage to hear it. Know what I mean?
No.
She starts listening to his music while working out, shutting out the world and finding a serenity, which also includes ignoring her boyfriend.
What the f***?
Did you hear what I said? I was gonna hit the showers. I'll meet you back here in 10 minutes.
Now at lunchtime, she's copying his ritual of taking an actual break, and she also brought in sandwiches. I know this is very basic stuff, but for Deborah, this is a big lifestyle change. She opens up about why she relies on chaos so much, and saying that he's become her calming anchor. He can see where this is going, and reminds her of their age gap, but she doesn't care about that. Honestly, out of the thousands of boyfriends that Deborah goes through in this series, Lundy is the best kind of person for her. He's respectful, he's an opposing energy type, which outside of Pokemon is a good thing, and he's the guiding light she needs in her life. After Dexter feels that he's done playing with Lila, she gets mad at him and sets her sculptures on fire, which spreads across the entire apartment, giving Dexter a reason to come back and save her, jeopardising his chances of getting back with Rita.
With the blowtorch and it just caught fire, I was so scared.
I guess so.
Promise me that you won't leave me, that you won't go anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
What a conniving she-devil.
He was a drug dealer. He played loud music.
Lila is frequently staying at Dexter's, and Deborah is not a fan. I can't imagine why. Even though I used this for a silly edit, I forgot to show you this clip from the previous episode.
I'm Lila. Oh, pardon my tears.
With her apartment all messed up, she's going to be staying here for a while. Dexter suspects that she intentionally started the fire.
The fire is of suspicious origin and they need to finish their investigation.
Yeah, especially when a fire has multiple points of origin.
Her attachment to Dexter is growing to a strange level, where he can't even leave her for a day without her getting upset. Lundy informs the PD that their investigation has led them to suspect that the butcher is someone in this very building. This also includes Dokes, who despite being suspended, is expected to come in for questioning. He's not really in the mood for helping out right now though, imagining a better career somewhere else. He's even considering a job opportunity from one of the Guerta's friends. Lundy brings Dexter in for questioning and grills him on a mistake he once made. The only case on record where his mistake allowed a criminal to walk free. That was until said criminal ended up dead. Dexter plays it cool by attributing his mistake to a lack of sleep and a feeling of being overworked.
A murderer walked free because you were overworked.
Yes.
Lila insists on coming to his next bowling game, and she basically flirts with every man there.
You are perfectly adorable.
Oh, let's just move on. On to a healthier relationship. Deborah goes to Lundy's for a dinner date, and they quickly forget about the whole dinner part. Dexter realises that in order to properly move on from his past, he needs to kill the bar guy, doing so with a chainsaw for poetic justice. He then rifles through his wallet and finds a note about Dexter's bowling plans, the very same information he gave Lila.
I'm sorry, I really am tired. I think I'm just gonna go home.
Rita then calls asking where he is, because it seems that someone unlocked her door.
Rita, get out of the house. Call the police. I'll be there as soon as I can.
When he gets there, Lila is nowhere in sight, but tells the police to stay on high alert. He warns Lila that if she does anything like that again, he'll unleash the wolf within.
Is this the monster that you keep telling me about?
Trust me, when you meet the monster, you'll know.
In her emotional turmoil, she reveals how insecure she is at the idea of Dexter leaving her.
Stay away from Rita. Stay away from me.
After Dokes is called in for questioning, he realises that Dexter sabotaged him, and so he goes digging around in his apartment looking for answers, finding his blood slides tucked away in the AC unit. Oh dear.
What can I say? You were right about me. I never held it against you.
After paying a visit to see the kids, and Rita, who is still mad at him, he notices that he's being followed by the feds, which is really bad timing, because he's got the bar guy chopped up and rotting away in the cabin. He can't go back and get rid of the body until he shakes their trail. Dokes is now fully invested in bringing Dexter down, flying all the way to Haiti to speak to one of his old contacts about getting some of the blood slides analysed. Completely off the books, of course. He's still suspended from police work. Lila's still on the scene, flirting with Batista and hanging out with the gang as they go for drinks after work, making vague threats to reveal Dexter's secret, and he once again warns her to back off. But he realises that she won't be easy to get rid of.
Can't live with her. Can't kill her. She's not going away.
Dexter finds that his blood slides are gone, and he believes that once again it's over. He's been discovered, especially when the feds come knocking, asking him to come down to the station. He's then presented with the slides and is asked to explain what this is.
Trophies.
That's what I thought.
It's over. They know. Oh, but wait. They don't think these slides are Dexter's. They found them in Dokes' car, so he's their suspect. With his history of violence and killing capabilities from the Special Forces, he fits the profile of the Butcher. Also, he vanished off to Haiti in a hurry, so maybe he's on the run. It turns out the reason Dexter's being followed is because they know Dokes has it out for him, and they're anticipating his attack. The Guerta manages to get through to Dokes and lets him know that he's a prime suspect. He says he can't explain anything until he gets back from Haiti, as he'll have the evidence he needs to put away the real Butcher. With the feds guarding his door 24/7, he has to sneak out the bathroom window to go deal with the body. Everything is going to plan, but then, out of nowhere, Dokes catches him red-handed, and even though he knew all along, he still can't believe his eyes.
I always knew there was something with you, but this shit...
What can I say? You were right about me.
He orders Dexter to put the cuffs on, threatening to kneecap him if he tries anything funny, like this. He knocks out Dokes and locks him inside a cage in the cabin.
You're gonna have to kill me, Morgan!
Well, this just got super interesting. Dokes is morally grandstanding, saying that even though he's killed people too, he does so as part of his duty. Dexter has no right killing people outside of the law. Now he's faced with his biggest dilemma yet. Does he kill Dokes? It seems there's no choice in the matter, but he's got stuff to do back home, which will give him time to think.
You only have two choices, Morgan. You can't ignore me.
Lundy reminds Deborah that when the case is closed, he'll be sent back to wherever he came from, making Deborah believe that this will be the end of their relationship. Speaking of relationships, Rita is willing to give Dexter another chance because the kids miss him and she still loves him. Later that evening, he goes back to Dokes and informs him that he's decided to kill him, showing him some slight kindness first by giving him some much needed water. He shouldn't have guzzled it down so quick though, as Dexter laced it with sedatives.
The sedative works fast. It's probably best just to go with it.
As he's passing out, he reveals that Dexter's dad was no hero, and many people that worked with him know something about Harry that Dexter doesn't.
They never told you.
Hey! What about my father? What about my father?
He decides there's a third option. He can frame Dokes for the murder of the bar guy. Hearing Dokes talk about his father gives him a flashback to a time when Dexter and Deborah were definitely kids, and not in their mid-30s, wearing ridiculous wigs and costumes.
It's her birthday. Oh, well, happy birthday, hon. But,
It reminds Dexter that his dad was very much a sore loser. If a criminal ever got away, he would take it personally. And he even says that he's glad he taught Dexter the value of taking these criminals out. When Dokes comes to, he reveals the big secret is that Harry didn't die from a heart attack. But he won't tell Dexter the real reason, because why would he? Dexter visits the captain and finds out that Daddy was struggling to cope towards the end, and so he took his own life. Another flashback later on reveals that him seeing Dexter take out his first victim was the thing that tipped him over the edge.
Dad? What's wrong? Are you okay?
He trained Dexter with his code, but actually seeing him do it was too much. Lila's next move to manipulate Dexter is by making it look like Batista gave her a roofie and assaulted her. We'll see how this plays out next episode.
You have arrived at your destination.
Dexter's in a real crisis. He's been following a code, and the very person who created that code couldn't handle the end results, making Dexter wonder if he's been wrong for living his life by this code.
All the things Harry taught me. Everything. It's bullshit.
He gets a call as Lila's emergency contact, asking him to rush to the hospital. This allows Dokes to continue breaking out of his cage. Lila gives her worst acting performance ever, and Dexter isn't buying it.
Everything's a bit fuzzy.
This is desperate. It won't work.
What are you talking about?
This is how you win me back. Framing a good man to get what you want.
She says that if Dexter agrees to take her back, she'll drop the charges against Batista. Due to the allegations, Batista is a complete wreck. But luckily, everyone at the station knows that he's not the kind of man who would do this. Everyone's called into the station by Lundy's boss, Mike Ehrmantraut, showing that they found the evidence that Dexter planted, which keeps the finger pointed at Dokes. Speaking of Dokes, he's managed to kick his way out of the cage. And when he comes across some random people, he tries asking for their help. But A, they don't speak English, B, they're drug dealers, and C, he announces himself as a cop. So not a great combination. When Dexter comes back, he sees Dokes is being used to take the drugs out the cabin. He and Dexter make eye contact, and they work together to take these guys out. Dokes is thankful for his help, but Dexter isn't ready to be friends with him just yet. At this point, he's considering turning himself in, feeling like no matter how much he tries, he keeps getting closer and closer to being caught, and the pressure is getting too much. Yeah, he will spend the rest of his life in jail, but he would be unburdened from living a secretive life. Dokes, of course, says that he will help him turn himself in, so Dexter says, okay, give me 24 hours. I need to go and put my affairs in order. He tells Lila that she might as well give up the game. He's going to be in custody tomorrow, so she has nothing to gain from her blackmail plan. Unable to handle this idea, she breaks into his car to find out what he's been up to and why he's in trouble. Using the history on his satnav, she goes to the place he last visited, which, as you probably guessed, is the cabin.
Somebody in there?
You have arrived at your destination.
You're afraid of me now, aren't you?
I've always been afraid of you, Dexter.
The police are closing in on Dokes' location, and they better hurry, because Dexter is en route, and Lila is already there. She learns that Dexter is the one behind this, and naturally she doesn't want him in trouble. So instead of letting Dokes out, she sets up the gas burner to explode him.
No! Turn that off! No! Do you understand this is murder? Open this f***ing door!
He gets out of the cage, but the way out is bolted shut. God damn, this death really sucks. I mean, the scene itself is good, but seeing Dokes go out like this is just not what the man deserves. One of the best characters in this show being taken out by my least favourite. They find what's left of his charred body, and they put the puzzle together that Dokes was the butcher, and this cabin is where he did his work.
That's a perfect location for a kill room. Doesn't get any more remote than this.
There's a conflicting feeling in the air. Those who were friends with Dokes are hit by the loss, but on the other hand, he was a serial killer, so they believe. I feel really awful for LaGuerta, handing out fundraising flyers to people who would sooner spit on his grave than give to his funeral fund.
You gotta be kidding.
This is what we do for fellow officer.
Dexter finds his sat-nav in the pile of burned up evidence and concludes that Lila was the one behind the explosion. They meet up in the aquarium and talk about what happened, and she's all like, I know you're the Bay Harbour butcher now, and me knowing this makes us soulmates and stuff. So annoyingly, they're back at it with the kissing.
Hey!
Dexter says that it was too much of a close call, so he's considering running away, and she says, okay, I'll come with you. Thankfully, it turns out that this was all just a sneaky trick.
I can't wait to go away with you, Dexter.
You're going away with me, all right? In a garbage bag?
Deborah turns up right as Dexter's about to take her out, and there's a lot of confusion in the room. Why are you here? No, why are you here? Nah, but why are you here? And also, why am I here? Lila susses it out and takes Dexter's bag to the airport. She opens up the bag and sees all his tools, upset to find out that he lied, and she was next on his list. In response, she knocks out the babysitter and kidnaps Asta and Cody.
You see if any of the neighbors saw anything. I'll drive around the area. I promise we'll find them.
When Dexter arrives, she sets her apartment on fire. Again. But luckily, he gets the kids out before they get hurt. Dexter gets out too, of course. Earlier on, Lundy told Deborah that his next job is very far away, so there's no way they're going to work as a couple. But then she's like, okay, I'm coming with you. Jeez, take a hint, will ya? She ends up missing her flight because of the kidnapping situation. Lila catches her flight and believes that life is peachy now that she's in Paris. But Dexter finds her and gives us the death we've been waiting for. Well, I don't know about you, but I've been waiting for this.
Don't do this.
You taught me to accept what I am.
With a new slide box delivered, Dexter thinks about the future and whose blood will be next on a little piece of glass as a trophy. And that's the end of Season 2. Thank you to my Patreon supporters and channel members. Look at you guys sticking with me. It really means a lot to me. If your name isn't on here, but still you've stuck around to listen to this, you're also appreciated. I hope you enjoyed the video, and it looks like YouTube has a tasty recommendation for you, but only click on it if it's one of my videos.